The throne of Delhi was and is the seat of power in the Indian subcontinent. Kings, emperors, and dynasties have come and gone, even forgotten with the changing tides of time. But Delhi remains firm, unshaken, and stable even today. The seat of power boasting of one of the biggest democracies in the world. But there was one individual who ascended the throne of Delhi, set apart from every other ruler who sat on the throne, who left a mark not just due to her gender, but also because of her brilliance as a ruler. Where many names lay forgotten, it is a testament that she is still remembered today, despite the short reign of 4 years. Razia Sultan was not meant to ascend the throne of Delhi, not because she wasn't capable, but was handicapped by her gender. She had many brothers who were top contenders to the throne after their father. But it was Razia who ascended the throne and reigned gloriously as Sultan, albeit for only 4 years. So, why is it that even after all these years, Razia still reigns in our memories? How has she managed to become a very popular historical figure in Indian history? And despite the popularity of male heroes, who often take center stage in historical accounts and legends, Razia seems to stand out. But as popular as she might be today, that wasn't the case in the 1200s. Women were far away from receiving any rights and had to conform to the rigid patriarchal society. The only form of power they could wield was as the mother, wife, daughter, or mistress of someone powerful and influential. Razia Sultan too was born to a very powerful man in medieval India. Iltutmish, the Sultan of Delhi, who created his own legacy as a slave to make his way to the throne of Delhi. Her mother was the Princess Turkan Khatun, the youngest daughter of her husband's predecessor, Qutbuddin Aibak. Razia was one of many issues of the Sultan, with 8 known sons of royal lineage, 2 of whom were declared heirs by her father, not making her road to the throne any easier. But as destiny had it, she was to be the next Sultan of Delhi, leaving a deep mark on history. Razia's journey to becoming the Sultan was riddled with so many hurdles. A very patriarchal society, for a start. But her father possessed the clarity and foresight when he chose Razia as his successor on his deathbed, a decision that was opposed and rejected by his courtiers, who lacked his foresight, completely blinded by misogyny. They put her brother on the throne instead. Razia Khatun was born in the royal household of her father, Sultan Iltutmish. And even though she was never in line for the throne, she was educated in accordance with all the royal issues. She studied state affairs and trained in warfare from a very young age. And because she was of royal blood, she was raised like her brothers and grew up outside the harem, where usually young girls and women of royal household and lineage usually lived. Therefore, Razia grew up without much gender norms imposed on her, protected under her father. Was she aware of the gender discrimination? Of course, but she had not faced it yet. But when her time would come, she would be ready. Even though Razia received all the education and training, she was also a very gifted young girl, excelling at everything she put her mind to. No wonder she grew up to be a very capable and sought opportunities to prove herself and help her father in state administration. But here was where she entered the real world of her father's court. And like the rest of the world, it was dominated by men either powerful or power hungry and ambitious. Like it was mentioned earlier in the video, Razia was not supposed to inherit the throne, especially when the inheritance favored her brothers purely because they were males. And Razia had 6 brothers, all legitimate successors to her father. Personally, I think it was fascinating that Razia was able to beat all her brothers to become the Sultan herself. A lot of credit goes to her father, Sultan Iltutmish, who recognized Razia's potential and did not dismiss her on the basis of her gender, which was certainly the case for her downfall. But then again, Sultan Iltutmish came from the world of politics where you had to earn your way up. Nepotism or blue blood were not your allies. He himself started out as a slave and worked his way up to the ranks of the court of Sultan Qutbuddin Aibak, who in turn was a slave himself and began the slave dynasty of Mamluk, of which Iltutmish was the fourth sultan. But one thing that was definitely his ally was being a male. Most of the inheritance was pure male primogeniture. Primogeniture refers to the act of passing down all family possessions to the eldest child. A royal system, it would mean passing down of the title, and in most of recorded history, the practice has been father to son, which is now commonly known as pure male primogeniture. And so Razia's eldest brother, Malik Us Said Nasiruddin Muhammad, was declared the rightful claimant to the throne by the Sultan and was to be groomed to take over after him. But unfortunately, he died before the Sultan, and he had to look to the rest of his sons to choose a new successor. Now, as we have discussed before, even though the pure male primogeniture was favored, the court of Delhi was more cutthroat, where the only way to garner respect and loyalty was through proving your capability and brilliance, which sadly the rest of Iltutmish's sons did not possess. The time for Razia to prove her mantle came, however, when her father left her in charge of administration, when he had to go away on campaign to Gwalior. When he returned, he was quite impressed with Razia's management of his sultanate, and he nominated Razia as his heir right there and then. Sultan Iltutmish might have named Razia his heir, a historic move, but even he would not have imagined the unrest which arose after his death. The nobles and ministers refused to follow Iltutmish's wish, and Razia did not succeed her father. In her place, the nobles backed her brother, Ruknuddin Firuz Shah, and made him the next sultan. His time on the throne was short-lived, however, since he didn't seem to be interested in the runnings of the state and more inclined towards leisure and enjoyment, leaving state affairs to his mother, who ruled on his behalf. But in a place where nepotism and your lineage would only take you so far, the nobles declared him unfit to lead them. There was a rebellion against them, led by Razia herself, where he and his mother were brutally assassinated. The court of Delhi was divided by their ethnicities. There were Turkic, Afghan, Turkish, Persian, a diverse range of nobles who fought for power over the throne of Delhi. Much like the royal court of Scotland, with its rival warring clans who were eager to seize power for themselves whenever they saw an opportunity. And Razia's story draws so many parallels with their queen, Mary of Scots. Finally, it was time for Razia to take her rightful position on the throne of Delhi as Jalatuddin Razia. This was a shock to everyone. Nobody had ever heard of a female sultan before this. Most of the court and the subjects were not very comfortable with a woman ruling them. If that was not enough, Razia, a trendsetter in her own right, ditched the parda and dressed in gender-neutral clothing and carried a sword, which scandalized the conservative Muslim court. As the Sultan of Delhi, she was a benevolent and a just ruler. She built schools and introduced new education reforms. Fair in her judgment towards all, regardless of caste, creed, religion, or ethnicity. She demonstrated her father's foresight when she gave the former Abyssinian slave Malik Yaqut the title of Master of Royal Stables. She also gave many Hindu scholars important positions in her court, proving her secular mindset. Yet, this was to be her downfall. The nobles in her court did not take these changes very well and became very bitter towards her for favoring Hindu scholars and slaves over them. Rumors of an illicit romance with Malik Yaqut were spread to tarnish her reputation, but were never confirmed to be true. In the midst of this, the governor of Batinda, Malik Ikhtiaruddin Al-Tunia, attempted a coup d'etat against Razia, and her brother, Behram Shah, was made sultan instead. She was imprisoned in his fort, Killa Mubarak, in Batinda. But Razia was too shrewd and had succeeded in winning over Al-Tunia to her side, and even going so far as to entering into a marriage alliance with him. Some sources suggest that they were in love with each other, being childhood friends, while some sources say it was Al-Tunia who was in love with Razia. Either way, marrying Altunia is regarded as an incredibly smart move from Razia. Both of them now march to recapture Delhi together, but were defeated by the army of Ghiyasuddin Balban, who years later became the Sultan of Delhi himself, but during Razia's reign served as the Amir-e-Shikar, or the Lord of the Hunt. Razia and Altunia fled from Delhi, but on the way were murdered. Some sources say by the local Jats, while others say zamindars. This brought an unfortunate end to the 4-year reign of Razia Sultan, the only woman who ruled Delhi. There was no doubt Razia was a trailblazer, not just for her time, but even today. She was a smart woman, a shrewd administrator, a trained warrior, who won many battles and crushed rebellions. At the same time, she was kind towards her subjects. She ruled over them unbiased and had a secular approach to her administration. During her time, she was a pariah. Today, she is an icon. She was more liberal in her outlook at her time than we can dare to be today, and an unabashed feminist.